Welcome to the Idiot's Guide. I'm Mackie Hall, and today we're going to be talking about animating with Adobe Illustrator and Adobe Animate. For those of you who don't know, Adobe Animate is a powerhouse application designed for building interactive animations for video, games, and the web. With it, you can bring animation and banner ads to life, create avatars, and create animated and interactive infographics. You can also publish to multiple platforms on just about any format. That includes everything from an animated GIF to a high-end video format. Combine this with Adobe Illustrator, and you've got easy access to be truly creative. For this 8-part beginner tutorial, we're going to learn how to create this simple web tutorial using Illustrator and Animate. Here are the steps. Part 1, let's get started. Building Illustrator art, file setup, and importing. Part 2, create a looping animated symbol. Part 3, using motion tweens for basic animation. Part 4, adding stop actions. Part 5, creating buttons and button-based actions. Part 6, advanced buttons, basic button hover animation and linking to outside URLs. Part 7, publishing options for your web ad. Part 8, importing into an adaptive web page. This is part 4, adding stop actions. And a quick note, if you're coming in at one of the latter stages of the tutorial, be sure you start at step 1. That's always going to be the most helpful, and that'll get you on the path to creativity the fastest. For this piece, we're offering an Illustrator file down below or in your Canvas page to get started. Let's go. Now that we've completed step 3 using motion tweens for basic animation, we are going to jump into some introductory scripting. We'll do that by creating an actions layer and then adding stop actions. First things first though, let's take a look at our storyboard. As you can see on our storyboard, panel 1 only contains the clouds and the sky. There's no stop there. However, on panel 2, once the people scroll up from the bottom, then the sign and click here buttons scroll up, we expect the animation to stop there. When the user presses click here, the intro sign and click here sign will move off the stage from the bottom, and then we'll jump over to panel 3. At that point, sign 2 will come up along with the Visit CDC website button and the close button. When the Visit CDC website button is clicked on, the user will be taken to an external link at the CDC website, and then close will be the action that closes sign 2 and will move back over to panel 2, where the intro sign and click here will move back onto the page from the bottom. All right, with that in mind, there are a couple stopping points, as you know. The first stopping point is once the intro sign and click here sign arrive to their position on the stage. And then the second stopping point will be when sign 2, along with the 2 buttons, arrives at their respective positions on the stage. Now that we've taken a look at that, let's go ahead and assign our actions layer and then add our stop actions. If we play our animation straight through, you'll see that there are no stops in our document right now. And if we test our document on a browser, note that there are no stops in the animation. We'll fix that right now. All right, once back onto our animation, the first thing we're going to do is we are going to click on our button layer. We only do that because that is our topmost layer. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to click the plus sign. We're going to click on the plus sign in our timeline. That's also the icon for Add New Layer. Once that layer has been created, we're going to double click on it to rename it Actions. Once done, we'll click anywhere off of it, and then we're ready to get started. Note that when we drag through our animation, our stopping point is exactly at our second keyframe on the button and headline layers. So with that in mind, we are going to add a keyframe on our actions layer. So to add a keyframe, we're going to right click on the frame directly above the keyframes on the button and headline layers. Once we right click on it, we will select Insert Keyframe. We can also press the Insert Keyframe button on the timeline itself. Once we've done that, let's right click on our blank keyframe in the actions layer and let's select Actions or F9. And once we've done that, this is our Actions panel. This is where we do our scripting. The way we do it is once our panel opens, we are going to click on Add Using Wizard. Once we've selected that button, note that we've got a series of actions recommended to us. What we're going to do is we're going to scroll down to Stop. Then we'll select this timeline and we'll select Next. Once we're there, we just select with this frame and then we'll click Finish and Add. We'll close the window and note that if we play it on the timeline, our action will not take place. The only way to preview our action is to test it on the browser. So let's do that again. Again, we'll select Control, Test, or Control Enter. Once our test opens in the browser, note that our animation stops when the button and headline arrive at their second keyframe, or when they arrive at the same keyframe that the action layer. Another thing that's worth noting is take a look at the cloud animation. The cloud animation operates on its own timeline, if you recall, so it's going to continually move. All right, let's go ahead and close this out. Let's go back to our timeline. Now we've also got a second stop action that we need to accomplish. Note, as you can see on our storyboard, this is the stop to panel 2. And if we move forward, this is the stop to panel 3. So we need to create a stop action here as well. Once we've arrived at our second stopping point, we're going to right click and then we're going to select Insert Keyframe. Once we've added our keyframe, we're going to right click on it again and select Actions. Once our Actions window has popped up, we're going to select Add Using Wizard. And then note under step 1, all we need to do is scroll down and select Stop. Next thing we'll do is we'll click on the objects which apply to the action. In this case, we want to stop this time frame. We'll click on Next, and then we'll select our only available option for the triggering event with this frame. Next, before we select Finish and Add, think about what we just completed. We wrote, with the click of 3 buttons, stop this timeline with this frame. Piece of cake, I think. We'll click Finish and Add. We'll close our Actions window. And now we've got another stop actions. Now, until we've got a play action, we can't see this stop action, but it will operate just in the same way as our first stop action right there. Now that we've done that, let's go ahead and complete another action, which we won't see until the next go around, but it's still worth including. Let's go ahead and go to our 60th frame. And again, we'll go to Actions, we'll right click on it, and we'll select Insert Keyframe. Now, before we select an action, remember that on our storyboard, when we select Close, we wanted to move Sign 2 and its buttons off stage, and we wanted to move back to panel 2, where the intro sign and the Click Here button would move up from the bottom. So with that in mind, let's create an action that does just that. Once again, we're going to right click on our keyframe and we'll select Actions. Again, we'll select Add Using Wizard. Now this time around, instead of Stop, we're going to select Go to Frame Number and Play. We're going to click on that. And on the object of which to apply the action, again, we don't want any buttons to do it or anything like that. Instead, when we arrive at this point in the timeline, so we'll select this timeline. And then note in our window, it says this Go to and Play. What we want to do is we want to find the frame that we want to play at. Note the point on our second panel that we want to go to and play is when our button and headline come up from the bottom of the stage. That will be frame number 13. So what we're going to do is we're going to write frame number 13 or just 13 in our window, and then we'll click on Next. As our triggering event, we've got one more thing to do. All we need to do is select with this frame. That's going to be our triggering event. We'll select Finish and Add. We'll close our Actions window. And with that, Not only have we created our 2 stop actions as promised, but we've also created our play action at the end of our animation. And with that, all we need to do is save our animation and we are done. Nice going. You've completed step 4. Proceed to the next step. All right, if you have any questions, comments, or critiques, leave them in the comments section below. Otherwise, throw me a like. I'd really appreciate that. Otherwise, subscribe. I'd appreciate that just a little bit more. We'll see you next time. See you.